You know what, just as I thought that we would actually be able to sleep well and find Kenji appears. Oh, right, come on then, let's speak to Kenji. He doesn't love Kenji, right? Sleep well? Kenji's sudden arrival makes me jump, and I narrowly avoid butting heads with him. I know he has poor eyesight, but he knows who I am now. Does he still have to stand this close? Oh, yeah, like a baby. Damn, why do people say that? Have you ever heard a baby sleep? They scream all night, every night. Babies don't sleep well, ever. Well, there goes my restful state. I have to remember to never use figures of speech with Kenji. You've got to remember not to use words with Kenji. Alright, I get your point. It was a figure of speech. Yeah, sure, whatever. Where were you last night? I had a favour to ask, but you weren't around. Okay, so I've already gone to sleep. Okay. Right, and now Kenji's here. For a split second, I considered telling Kenji the truth, that I was spending time with Haniko and Lily. Thankfully, that split second passes as soon as it came. I was just out, checking out the local area and stuff. You know, recon. Good man, good. I knew you were the type to plan ahead. Anyway, what was this favour you wanted? I was going to get some takeout, but I need change. Wait, what? I gave you money last week and you still haven't paid me back. And I was starting to think you were cool. Kenji fishes around his pocket and produces his wallet. As he counts out the 400 yen he owes me, I can clearly see at least two 10,000 yen notes. Hey, what the hell? Why are you borrowing money off me when you've got that much cash? Kenji hisses a little, realising he's been had. Get off my case, man. It's bad luck to break a big note for anything less than half of its value. It's a tycoon's rule. I've never heard of that. Last night's dinner is going to cost me 7 years of bad luck. 7 years? Don't you think that that's enough cause to help someone else? I'd get a shorter sentence if I just stole the stuff. My common sense screams at me to say something to him, but thankfully I restrain myself. Arguing a point like this with Kenji will just lead to further and more complicated discussions. Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe you should plan these things a little better. Yeah, man, I know, but I've just got so much stuff to do. It's hard. And you're never around anymore, so I'm now on my own. We're supposed to be brothers in brotherhood, remember? Yeah, I get you. Global and conspiracy and such. I'll keep my ear to the ground. Kenji draws close enough for me to get a clear whiff of his garlic-tainted breath. Oh, lovely. You'd better, man. You're already spending less time here. That's the first thing they do. They'll try to split us up, divide and conquer. Sun Tzu said that. I butchered that name, I bet. Roger that. Now I've got to be going. I've got classes. You coming? No, I'm tired. I stayed up all night just to make sure nothing was going to happen after splitting that note. As rational as ever, I see. Whatever, night. Kenji scurries back into his room and I hear him throwing his logs as I walk down the hallway. Right. That is why some people can't roll their tongue, and why their second toe is longer than their big toe. Yeah, I speak fluent Spanish and I can't roll my tongue either. I can't roll my R's. See, it just sounds like an alien having a baby through its mouth. Mutu beams a half-moon smile at us, obviously proud of his explanation of recessive genes. However, no matter how impressed he is at the science that defines who we are, the classroom seems to be reduced to a stopper. Why is it that a bad explanation can make even the most interesting things seem worthless? I can see Mewtwo deflate as he realised that nothing he said in the past half hour has sunk in. Whispered conversations start to break the silence, and like an avalanche, the noise level in the class starts to rise. Defeated, Mewtwo identifies some questions from the textbook and sets to clearing off the blackboard. Almost as if expected, Haniko picks up her things and leaves as soon as people start talking and laughing among themselves. The initial shock of seeing someone play so blatantly truant has started to fade, but it doesn't stop me from wondering. Is she leaving because she doesn't want people to speak to her, or is it just the thought of people around her shattering her peace? Before I can think about the topic any further, the lunch bell rings. I wonder if she was simply taking the opportunity to leave early. The usual clamour of students exchanging books for lunch reverberates around the room, and while Misha is distracted, I grab my lunch and head out the door. I'm amazed it was that easy. Lily already sits in the tea room, setting out her lunch alone. So Haniko's not here then? Oh, Hisao, how are you? I haven't met Haniko since this morning, I'm afraid. Met Haniko? Seen Haniko? Yeah, alright, I understand where I went wrong there. Yeah, gotcha. That's right, Haniko and Lily live next to each other. Somehow I think their morning conversations are slightly more grounded than Kenji's ramblings. That's strange. She left class early, so I figured that she'd come here. So she's still leaving class early. Huh? Yeah, I've seen her do it a few times. Lily drops her head a little and her tone of the voice is notably depressed. It's very reminiscent of someone who is used to hearing bad news. I was so sure that she'd stopped doing that once you two became friends. Everyone has their own pace, I suppose. Well, I was just wondering about that today. Why exactly does she leave? I'm not entirely sure myself. I personally think it's because she doesn't want to be put in a situation where she has to answer someone. I have a flashback of my first meeting with her, when I thought she looked like a cornered animal. Maybe I wasn't far from the truth. But she seems fine with talking to you, and with me, a bit. It's a little bit more complex than that. I imagine that the first thing most people ask her about is her scars and what happened. She rarely talks about it with me, but I can tell she doesn't like to remember whatever happened back then. Leaving class and running away from discussions is preemptive strike, if you will. Huh. So, how does that explain her talking to me? You said it yourself yesterday at breakfast. You tried to ignore her scars. When she saw that you weren't going to ask her about that, she opened herself up to you. I guess you're right, maybe. I don't know. You know her better than I, so I'll take your word for it. I wouldn't worry about that. I'm sure you'll come to know her as well as I do soon enough. I welcome the prospect of her having a new friend, and the two of you have such similar interests. Chess and, well, I hardly count reading as a team sport. It is good to have company, though. That's my point. Haniko is still an average person at heart. She also wants company at times like that. Huh, I see. I think. To be honest, both of you still confuse me a little. That's only natural, Hisao. We've only known each other for a little while. It's unreasonable to expect you to understand us, just as we can't understand you. But that is half of the fun of becoming friends, right? Yes. Yes, it is. Although, I suppose there is a matter of us being opposite genders. Men and women do seem to confuse each other quite often. She says this with a light giggle, finding amusement at the odd little details of life. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to start eating. No, go ahead. I think I'll eat something too. I've got some books I want to drop back at the library before classes start, so I'd better get a move on. You'll probably find Haniko there as well. If you do see her, can you tell her to stop by my room later on? I'd like to talk to her. You're not coming? Unfortunately, I have class representatives meeting later, so I'll be gone as soon as I finish my lunch. Okay then. If I don't see her in the library, then I'll tell her in class. I'm sure she'll be back after lunch. We fall silent as we start to eat, and I take a second to reflect on our conversation. I've always thought that Haniko's shyness was simply due to her being half-conscious about her stars. Stars and scars. But that is a pretty superficial way of looking at her. Just when I thought I was able to see through the fog of Lily and Haniko, I realised that I'm more lost than when I started. Lily quickly finishes her lunch, acutely aware of her meeting. I don't blame her. Shizune is most likely going to be there. I doubt she wants to give her the satisfaction of another argument. I must be off. Same time tomorrow? Same time, same channel. I'd better head off too. I don't want to risk being late. Lily smiles gently, picks up her cane and walks out of the hall. I turn my back on Lily as we head in opposite directions. For some reason, I find myself hoping she doesn't get into another fight with Shizune. As much as I like Lily, Shizune and Misha have been pretty instrumental in helping me adjust, even if half our conversations are thinly veiled recruitment attempts. Then again, I barely know either of them. Maybe they were previously leaders of some kind of secret society, but their love for each other drove them apart. Man, I need to stop watching cheap fiction. It's running my brain. Either that or I've got to move away from Kenji and his bad influence. I think it's a bit of both. It's sad that I can't tell the two apart anymore. I slide my books down the return chute and they crash into the cart with a pleasant thud. Oh, Yuko, however, doesn't seem as impressed as I. Hisao, you scared me. Sorry, I thought you'd be used to that by now, or is the literacy level here so low that nobody borrows any books? No, I think everyone here can read fine. Yet, never mind. There are some battles that you can never win. Trying to explain jokes is one of them. My dad taught me that the hard way. Say, Yuko, have you seen Haniko about? She left class early, but she wasn't in her usual hiding place. I think I saw her sneak in before lunch. Oh, but I'm not supposed to tell anyone that. I just told you that I saw her leave. No need to stress out. Oh, of course. She's probably in the back. Thanks. Get any new books in recently? No, sorry. I'll let you know when we do, though. Okay. If there's one thing I know about librarians, part-time or otherwise, it's that they appreciate people taking a genuine interest in their work. I walk the now familiar path to Haniko's reading nook, picking out a few titles along the way. Sometimes I find it hard to discover a book that will interest me among the shelves. An author's name and a two-word title don't mean much in a sea of similar words. For that reason, I sometimes reread books that I read in the past. Better to bet on the favourite than a new runner. An unfamiliar title from a familiar author peeks out among the spines of neighbours, so I remove it from the shelf. At least I'm not going over old material. As expected, Haniko sits on her beanbag, buried deep in a copy of Dance, Dance, Dance. Oh dear. Hi Haniko, how's it going? I fight back the urge to ask why she left class early. If Lily's suspicions were right, then asking about that could have the opposite effect. Best to leave it for the time being. Sometimes the best way to get an answer from someone is to never ask the question. Hello, here's how I'm fine. Something seems off, and after a couple of seconds I realise what it is. Haniko's smiling. She looks as if she's pleased to see me. It's a nice change from the usual instinctively frightened reaction, and sometimes I hope I can see more of as we get to know each other better. Good to hear. How's that book? I heard it's a trip. It's good, I think. I've only just started it, so I don't really know. Fair enough. Let me know how it goes. I may borrow it once you're done. Sure. There's a good 15 minutes left in lunch. Not enough to really get into a book, but too much to spend standing around doing nothing. And Haniko's already returned to her reading, so I doubt I'll get much conversation from her. Oh well, I'd better make myself comfortable. I slouch into a beanbag and crack open my book. The familiar style of the author leaps out from me from the very first line. As the sentences turns into paragraphs, I start to relax a little. But no matter how I try, I can't seem to get myself into the atmosphere of the book. This is partly due to the lack of time, but the more distracting factor is Haniko. Every 10 seconds or so she peers over the top of her book when our eyes meet and she quickly ducks behind the covers. I guess she did want to talk about something after all. What's up? You look like a prairie dog on lookout. Wow. No, it's nothing. I've told you before, nothing means something when you say it like that. Haniko squirms a little in her beanbag, hoping that by changing her position she'll find the word she's looking for. I was in an accident. Accident? Just now? Are you alright? Haniko shakes her head, her hair flowing around her shoulders and wisps of amethyst on a background of pale and dark flesh. No, when I was younger. Realization crashes into me like a semi. When I was... It's right, Haniko, you don't have to tell me anything if you don't want... Again, she shakes her head. No, I have to tell you. Come on, really? A really emotional moment like this, and that's the best they can do as artwork goes. Right then, I'll just close my eyes whilst reading this. When I was young, I was in a fire. My house burned down, and I nearly didn't make it. After that, I was alone. Haniko's eyes glisten in the dim light of library. I reach out to grasp her hand. It's okay, Haniko, you don't have to keep going. But I have to. Why? What brought this on? Last night, Lily told me about your heart. And I didn't think it was fair. Fair? That I knew about you, but you didn't know about me. I squeeze Haniko's hand a little. Don't be silly, but yes, I have a heart condition. I lean a little closer to Haniko. What I didn't tell Lily is that I had my first attack when a girl confessed to me. I smile a little to break the tension. Really? Really, I haven't heard from her for a while though, so I guess it's all over. I know it's all over. There's no other way to interpret what happened the last time I saw her. In some ways, not having heard from her again has helped me move on from that period of life. So now, we both know a little more about each other, but you don't have to talk about things if you don't want to. In fact, I feel a little bad even thinking about the whole incident. I can almost smell the hospital's disinfectant burning the back of my sinuses again. I imagine Haniko is going through the same thing now. When I was in the hospital, I went to the burn ward once, and only once. I was bored, so I went for a walk through all the wards. I went through oncology and thought I could take it, but when I got to the burn ward, I turned around and went back to my bed. To think that Haniko would have spent months in a place like that, smelling nothing but corrupted skin, strong disinfectant and sterilised air. The really bad cases were kept in isolated pods that no foreign objects could enter. That would have meant no reading. I would have gone insane if I didn't have my books in the hospital. And she said she was alone. Did her parents die? I'll have to ask Lily about it. I can imagine myself saying something dumb unintentionally. Thank you, Hisao. I haven't told many people about this. To be honest, I haven't told many people about my circumstances either. Then I won't tell anyone either. Deal. I change my grip on Haniko's hand into a handshake as the warning bells chime through the window. Well then, we'd better head back to class, eh? Sure.